Chapter 10. Something's off about him. "Hey, Kev, you up yet?" Cameron asked, gently knocking on Kiviar's bedroom door with the back of her hand. "Yeah, come in," he answered. His voice was dazed and unfocused, as he returned to frantically tossing his bedsheets up into the air looking for something. "Whoa, am I interrupting something?" she asked, walking into the room. The morning sun pierced through the window, striking her flawless brown skin. Her frizzless hair swung over her shoulder as she cautiously stepped further and further into the room, tiptoeing over pillows and books as they aimlessly flew across the room, landing on the floor with a big thud. "What are you doing?" she asked again, looking around at the mess. "I'm looking for this one book I had last week, but I can't find it now," he said, as his eyes scanned the bookshelf beside his bed. "Shouldn't you be resting?" she asked, looking at the sunken bags under his eyes. "The sun's barely up, and you had a long night." He said casually, pulling the books out of their slots to briefly read the cover before he threw it away. "Kev, did you sleep at all last night?" "Yeah, I could run a marathon," he said, smiling at her. "Kev, are you sure you're all right?" she asked again, more worried than before. "Yes, Cam, I'm fine," he replied, turning his head back to the shelf. "I just need to find this book." "What book?" "Spiritual Legends and, he said, ducking under the bed as he tried to remember the name. "I can't remember the name, but it has a solid black cover and the writing is golden." "Oh, Spiritual Legends and Theories. I just saw it in the library yesterday," she said. "Wait, what?" he asked, bonging up as he slapped his head against the hardwood bed frame. "Yeah, it's been there for like 2 days now," she continued. "To the library." He yelped, speeding towards the door. Wait, not so fast, sir," she said, grabbing his collar as he whizzed past her. "Clean up this room before Johann sees it and has a mental breakdown," she said, chuckling, "and brush your hair." As he looked over at the vanity towards the 10-foot mirror mounted to the wall, he finally saw what she was so worried about. The bags under his eyes were dark like the void, sunken enough to hold buckets of water. The dry drool on the side of his cheek stained clear, along with the rat's nest on his head and eye crust spilling out of his eyes. It was made perfectly clear that she had a point. "Oh, maybe you're right," he said, chuckling. "You can go clean this mess and yourself up. I'll let Dad know you're all right and tell the cooks to start breakfast," she said, walking towards the door. "What about the book?" "We'll go after breakfast. I gotta choose a new book to read while we're there anyways." "Okay, fine," he said, turning back to pick up the books scattered across the floor. "All righty," she said, closing the door as she merrily walked down the hallway. That book was the only thing that could explain what was going on with this sudden feeling of something approaching. The unsettling, nagging sense that something was on its way. He didn't know if it was good or bad, but the closer it got, the more he could sense it pulling at him, like a missing member, aching at the memory of a complete picture. The library was sacred ground. Every book contained its own vital knowledge, and he could catalog all of it in his head. "I need to be prepared this time," he said to himself as he slid the books back into place on the bookshelf. "I want all of the decorations up in the dining hall before this afternoon, and I still need to work on my speech," Dante said, as he and Hassan sat near the top of the table. "Yes, of course," Hassan replied, scribbling away in his little notepad. "I bet Johann is already on it, Your Majesty." "Oh, good morning, son," Dante yelped, jumping out of his seat as Keviar walked down the hallway towards them. "Are you okay?" he asked, grabbing both of Keviar's shoulders as he rambled on furiously. "Cameron told me you seemed fine when she saw you earlier, but you never know, you know? I wanted to call the medic first thing this morning, but she told me not to, so I paced my room all night worrying after we left you." "Dad, you're rambling again," Keviar said, slowly sliding his father's arms off of him. See, Dad, I told you, Cameron said from the table, as a thick piece of bacon dripping in syrup hung from her fork. Yeah, I'm fine, he said again. But, but what? Do you need the medic? I can call him right now, you know. Medic, Dante screamed. But I'm starving. I hope you all saved some bacon for me, Kev said, laughing at his father's overly cautious episode. Good morning, Sir Keviar, Hassan said, bowing as he approached the table. Good morning, Hassan, he replied, plopping down into a seat across from Raphael. Hey, Raph, looking gloomy as ever, he chuckled, biting into a piece of bacon. I'm not myself till my morning workout, he replied, sighing. If you need anything, just holler and I'll be there, okay? Dante said, walking over to the table. Yes, Dad, we know, they all said simultaneously. Sorry to interrupt, Your Majesty, but we must get back to the preparations, Hassan said as he slowly got up. Ugh, you're right, Dante said, balling his fists as he ground his teeth. I have to go. You two take care of your brother if anything happens, he said, pointing to Cameron and Raphael. All right. As he and Hassan walked away towards the main dining hall, the three of them sat, eating their breakfast. So, Raph, Keviar started to say, chewing on a strip of bacon. Yeah? He asked slowly. Akari's gonna be here tonight, he said, a cheeky smile spreading across his face. Okay? I just thought you'd be a little excited to see her, since you know, Kev continued, scooping up a spoonful of rice into his mouth. Know what? Cameron asked, joining the conversation. I want to know too. There's nothing to know, Raphael said, ripping up a piece of bread. I call bull, Kev said, pointing at him. I know you like her. I don't. How did I not know this? Cameron asked, dramatically turning to face him. You can deny it in that monotone voice all you want, but I know, Kev said, smirking. Whatever. As the morning waned on the palace came alive, herds of staff in their crimson uniforms made their way towards the dining hall, as the gardeners tended to the front lawn, accessing every leaf, every flower, every blade of grass as a testament to their commitment and artistry. Cain, a country of arts and agriculture, celebrations and traditions. As Keviar devoured his strips of bacon and egg-fried rice, the staff quickly cleared away the morning table. I'm gonna go work out, Raphael said, wiping the corners of his mouth with a napkin. Me and Cam are gonna go, Keviar started to say as he stood up, suddenly pausing. Go and do what? He asked. Kev? Cameron asked as she got up. You okay? She said, leaning over the table to touch him. The feeling. It was back. Something pulling at him. His mind wandered as he looked out the window daydreaming. Keviar, she said, gently shaking his arm, dragging him back to reality. Yeah, he said suddenly, snapping out of it. What just happened? She asked. Nothing. Let's go, he said, as he headed towards the door. Me and Cam are going to the library if you need anything, Kev said, trying to ignore what happened. All right, Raphael said, looking over at Cameron, his eyes widened. You saw what just happened, right? Raphael whispered over to her as he walked out into the hallway. Yes, she whispered back. Cam, you coming? Kev asked, turning around. Yeah, I'm coming, she shouted down the hall. Keep an eye on him, Cam, Raphael said as she walked towards the door, or Dad's gonna have a manic episode. Yeah, I know, she replied. Something's off about him, definitely. He didn't even try to make a joke just now, he whispered back. I'll let you know, she said as she ran after Keviar, who was halfway down the hallway. Kev, wait up, she said, walking up to meet him. What was that just now? She asked casually. Just saw a big bug fly out the window, he said, fishing for an excuse. Oh, okay, she said, looking him up and down. So what's the deal with the book you were looking for? She asked. Was there something in it? You sure like asking questions, he said, looking up at her smiling. Just making conversation, she said. I just want to check something out about wind users, he said. Okay. As they walked up the library, the ornate marble stone carving decorated the entrance stood firm as two guards stood at attention on either side of the pillars. As they entered the massive hall, a sea of shelves met them at every corner. Books, old and new, were plastered against every wall as a massive stairway spiraled down deep into the earth. Each floor housed more books than the one before. The tables to the side were laden with half-opened books, stacked up to the ceiling. The smell of cracked leather book covers enveloped the room. "Oh, you read all the books I recommended," she said, pointing to the stacked books. "Yeah, I got 2 more to go. I never thought I would finish, but you really chose some good ones," he said, wandering into the stacks. "Yeah, these anthropology books always intrigued me," she said, tracing the words on the cover with her finger. "Here it is! I found it!" Keviar yelled from the stacks. "All right, bring it over!" she yelled back. As he approached the table out of the labyrinth of bookshelves, he held a book, seconds away from crumbling to dust. The pages were brown and faded as speckles of mysterious stains spread across the solid black cover. The golden writing inscribed on the front shimmered in the fluorescent lamps that covered the room. As he slid the book onto the cold wooden desk, he plopped down into the seat, opening the front cover as his eyes scoured for the table of contents. Cameron stood leaning against the table as Keviar forgot her altogether. "Squinting already?" she asked, laughing at him as his eyes aimlessly wandered the page. "Shut up," he said, as he dug into his pocket, pulling out a pair of rounded frame glasses. "I just need them to read, you know this," he said, his face flush with embarrassment as he slid them on. Yeah, I know, 4 eyes," she chuckled. "Okay, let's see," he said, scanning the book's ancient pages. "The primordials, spiritual prayers, no," he said, carefully flipping through the pages. "Theoretical herbology, no. Origins of the clergy. Ah, here we go. Origins of magic. Spiritual gifts and graces," he said, his index finger sliding along the page, guiding his eyes. "Spirits inhabit the world, overseeing all natural aspects and its physical characteristics. Yada, yada, yada," he continued. "Praising the spirits ensures blessings upon their established domains and regions." Oh, here. Spiritual gifts are passed down randomly, but can be acquired through intense spiritual bonds and connections, he said. "What does that even mean?" To be honest, the last time I read this book, I think I skipped that section," she said, reading along with him. "Spirits are mysterious beings that resemble animals of the past and future," he said, reading again. "Those who experience spiritual connections and liberations are highly exalted, but these gifts can vary." "This doesn't make any sense," he said, falling back into the chair. "I really thought this would have the answer." "Oh, maybe. This section," he said, springing forward as he flipped through the book once again, the musty smell striking his nose as the pages whizzed past each other. "Okay, here we go." "Principles of wind using?" Cameron asked, confused. As the two of them read, it only left them with more questions than answers. The principles all wind users must adhere to are soul and balance. Given the philanthropic nature of these principles, wind users take pleasure in sharing knowledge with others and are inclined to have increased cataloging capacity as well as atmospheric senses. Keviar said, looking over the section once again. "Whatever that means," Cameron said, reading over it again. "Is that what you were looking for?" I think so," he replied, his hand on his chin, deep in thought. "If wind users have the ability to sense atmospheric changes, maybe that's it. Maybe that's whatever he's been sensing, but still, that didn't seem right." "Cam?" Raphael yelled as he entered the library. "Yeah?" she said, looking over at the door. "You're still here," he said, walking over to them. A sweaty towel draped over his shoulders as the restricting compression shirt he wore revealed his impressive physique. His hair still clung to his sweaty face as sweat dripped down from his nose. Why are you here?" she asked. "And why are you so sweaty?" "Yeah, didn't you say you were going to work out?" Kev added. "Yeah, I was in the middle of doing my squats when Hassan said Dad wanted me to get a book for him to finish his speech for tonight," he replied, looking over into the stacks. "Why didn't he just send Johan?" she asked, walking towards him. "I don't know, he just asked me to get it." "All right, I'll get it. Don't touch anything, you nasty self," she said as they both walked into the ever-changing maze of books and novels. "Kev, I'll be back. You can leave the book there if you're done," she said from behind the shelves. "All right." As their footsteps disappeared further and further towards the end of the main floor, he sat, staring at the book, pondering its explanation. Why couldn't he shake this feeling? The anticipation felt like needles being plunged into his chest over and over again. Those born with an innate spiritual connection could experience premonitions or visions, meaning only someone born with that kind of spiritual connection could make sense of this. But maybe that wasn't it. "Maybe it's a storm or a drought," he said, asking himself. "So, what are you going to wear tonight?" Cameron asked, their voices getting louder as the two of them walked out. "Akari's going to be there," she said, smirking. "I don't care," Raphael said, holding a thin red book as he walked towards the door. "Come on, it's okay if you like her, you know," she said, trying to act innocent. "That's it," Keviar said, suddenly standing up as the chair behind him fell over. "Akari." As he looked over to the two of them, they had stopped in their tracks staring at him, frozen with his finger in the air, shouting the name of someone he barely knew. "Yeah, you gotta wear something nice for her," he said, chuckling nervously, trying to play it off as a joke. They both said, slowly looking at each other awkwardly. "Yeah, I'm gonna go put this book back," he said, quickly slamming the book closed as a plume of dust erupted out of it. He quickly dashed into the stacks, leaving Raphael and Cameron there. "They clearly know something's up," he said to himself as he walked towards the slot for the book. "And if they tell Dad, I'll never find out what this is. I need to talk to Akari," he said. "She's the only one that could help me." "She should be at the gathering tonight," he said, slowly sliding the book back into place.